Next, we speak with Dalitso Sulamoyo, the president and CEO of the Illinois Community Action Agencies, as we learn more about the Liheap program providing economic assistance for those in need to pay their utilities. Dalitso Sulamoyo, thanks for joining us again on the Illinois Channel.
Thank you, Terry.
As the head of the Illinois Community Action Agencies, we had discussed in the past with you a number of the programs that your agencies deal with. One of the primary ones, as we move into the cool weather of the fall, is Liheap. Mm-hmm. A number of our viewers would recognize the name, but on the other hand, they may not know the details. And could you tell us what it does, and if some of those who are watching might need your service, how would they apply?
Sure. So Liheap is the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, which is funded in part with federal funding as well as state funding. It's a program that is designed to assist families with their utility bills. The program serves families or individuals that are living at 150% of poverty, which means for a family of four, they'll be making somewhere around $35,000 a year. In order for you to apply for those services, you'd have to go to a community action agency. And in Illinois, we have 36 agencies that provide services, Liheap services, and we have services provided in every county of the state. But what happens with the program is if you apply, you get a one-time grant, which is somewhere around $400 to $500. And that goes directly to your utility. It doesn't go to the family, it goes to the utility, and they get, their bill gets credited for the amount that's paid.
And obviously if you're running your heat, it's going to cost X number of dollars a month. When we look at the families in need, I guess the thing is because they're spending much more of their disposable income on a percentage basis on utilities, right?
That's correct. So studies have shown that low-income households will pay anywhere from 20 to 30% of their income on utilities, while average households will pay anywhere from 4 to 6%. So clearly, the families that we're serving with this program are families that are in great need, and if we can assist them with their utilities, they can have the rest of their resources to be used for other needs or expenses that their families have.
In the years, the economy has been sluggish for a number of years now. How have you seen the need ebb or flow over the last several years?
Well, I'll tell you this, that with the funding that we have, we are only able to serve about 40%, maybe even less than that, of the eligible population, meaning the number of households that we have in Illinois that are living at 150% of poverty, we're only able to serve anywhere from 40, probably less than 40%, which means that the need is still there. I'll also say that because the program only allows us to serve up to 150% of poverty, there are many families that are slightly above 150% of poverty, or I would even say all the way up to 200% or more than 200% of poverty that are in poverty, but unfortunately because the resources are not there to serve everyone, we're not able to serve those families.
How do you distinguish who gets it and who doesn't?
So it's on a first-come, first-served basis, but I will say that we do have priority periods in Illinois. The program starts in September, so September 1st, we give priority to seniors and to individuals with disabilities. So households that have seniors and persons with disabilities have a priority to apply beginning September 1st. And then October 1st, we do another priority period. So we still are serving seniors and persons with disabilities, but we add another category, and that is households that have children under the age of 5 that are at the 150% of poverty. And then in November, we do a general enrollment period. So that's, all the households that are eligible for this service can then apply beginning in November 1st.
Yeah, and I know we did a story several years ago showcasing the installation of various components, as you say, whether it was insulation or in some cases heaters and all, and they were doing tests. And obviously, then that would bring the value of the property up because it's more of a permanent fix or so long sustainable. When we did that story, the federal government had greatly increased, I don't remember the actual numbers, the dollars that were available for those programs. Has that continued or not?
So I think what you're talking about was the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act era, which was for a 3-year period. Federal funding that was appropriated during that period of time. So weatherization was one of the programs that received stimulus funds. We went from nationally, from an appropriation of $240 million annually to about $5.1 billion over a 3-year period. And in Illinois, for that period of time, we were able to weatherize about 40,000 homes. But after those funds were spent, and if I would remind you that the stimulus was intended to not just stimulate the economy, but to do so through job creation. And weatherization was seen to be, I would say, a green jobs initiative, where jobs were being created through those resources. So people were trained to do weatherization, people were employed to do weatherization. The supplies that are used in the program, were purchased locally, and that helped to stimulate many local economies throughout our state. But after those funds were spent, so again, as I said, it was a 3-year period, that was not sustained by Congress. Matter of fact, we went from, prior to the stimulus, we were at $240 million. During the stimulus was $5.1 billion. Post-stimulus, we went down to like $68 million. So it was much, much less than what we had previous to the stimulus. Part of the challenge was that I think there were some states that were still spending their stimulus funds, and so members of Congress didn't feel that there was a need to appropriate a considerable amount of weatherization funds. So we've had to rebuild the program. I think the support is coming back for weatherization. We're now probably close to $200 million appropriation for weatherization. And I think that both the White House as well as Congress are beginning to take another look at weatherization post the stimulus period.
Well, and I know everyone in Illinois knows what a horrible winter it was in 2013, 2012 going into 2013. It seemed to last forever. I think it snowed up until early May in Chicago. Did you hear reports or what? Let's bring those two together, maybe more on Liheap. How hard was it on families in need last year, and what kind of feedback did you get from your community agencies across the state?
It was very, very tough last year, obviously, and I think besides the fact that it was a very brutal winter, one of the issues that we hadn't planned for that emerged last year was the shortage in propane. And we have many families, particularly in the rural part of our state, that use propane gas for heating. And we had a shortage. And in some cases, companies that supply propane, in order for them to refill your tank, they were asking for deposits to be made, which a lot of these families could not afford. So our state, we worked with our state to set aside some additional funds, Liheap funds, to target those families that were experiencing, the challenges that were brought on with the propane shortage.
I don't know if I'm right on this. Isn't there a way that people can donate on their utility bill towards Liheap?
Yes.
So to that end, whether the state is cutting back or the feds are cutting back, if someone wants to give $1 or some amount, how does that work?
So some utilities will have information in their bills to give you the opportunity to donate toward the Liheap program. And I would encourage those that are able to do that to do so, because that money goes a very long way in helping individuals keep their utilities. As you pointed out earlier, it could be a life and death situation. particularly in very extreme weather conditions. Now, mind you, we're not just talking about helping families during the wintertime. In very hot summers, we also have a program that we do, which is within Liheap. We call it a cooling program, and we do a one-time payment of $150. Everybody gets $150 credit to their account that's paid directly to the utility. Again, that's to keep their power on so that they can have air in their homes. We've had instances in the past where individuals have died because of exposure to those extreme conditions, and so whatever we can do to assist families, whether it's donations, I think will go a very long way to sustain this program so we can continue to help families.
Yeah, I would remind people, I believe it was the summer of 1995, that something like 500 people just in Chicago died of heat.
That's correct, yeah.
And I would also say that when you think about the millions of households we have across Illinois, that any kind of a contribution does actually add up to a lot of money. So in other words, it could be, if you add an extra $1 or $5, sometimes I think people think that that's too small to matter, but it really isn't.
Yes, and I would say that too, if folks want to learn more about, the impact that our agencies are having in helping families, whether it's through Liheap, Winterization, and other programs and services, to be sure to contact us, because we have stories of families that have actually come out of poverty and are self-sufficient, are able to stand on their own, and all they needed was that helping hand or a hand up to get them to where they needed to be. So this is not money that's being wasted. We're helping folks that are in very, very, very precarious predicaments, and it just goes a very long way to provide a good life for them, hopefully.
All right, well, Dalitso Sulamoyo, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us again.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.